You send a message and wait, but not for a reply. No, not really. You wait for reassurance that you're still seen, still wanted, still real in the mind of someone who's drifting farther away with every unread text. The silence of the screen, it's louder than it looks, because a quiet phone doesn't just ask where he went, it whispers something darker. Am I still worth reaching for? Hi, it's Vernon again. In today's video, I'll show you 5 types of texts that men can't resist because they tap directly into the psychology of male desire. Texting today isn't just about making plans, it's about attention, emotion, and how connection lives or dies between the words. If you're drawn to this kind of insight, don't forget to subscribe. It's how we keep sharing the truths that too often go unspoken. Now, let's look at the first kind of message, a text that doesn't chase him, but stays with him.
The echo text. Leave space, not silence. Most people text to fill space. But what truly lingers is the message that creates it. The echo text is not about saying more. It's about offering a fragment, just enough to stir something beneath the surface. Like a melody unresolved, it draws him inward, not by volume, but by vacancy. His mind doesn't receive it passively. It works to complete it, to interpret the tone, the space, the intent. That effort is where the connection forms, because what we chase is rarely the fully given. We crave the puzzle, the pause, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there's more waiting behind the quiet. Men aren't drawn to noise. They're drawn to mystery, and the quiet confidence of a woman who doesn't try to explain herself in paragraphs. Instead, she sends a message that feels more like a mirror than a monologue. This kind of text doesn't plead, it suggests. It's not, "Where are you?" It's, "That place we never went to? I thought about it today." The key is in the restraint, not as a tactic, but as a quiet invitation for him to lean in, not because he's asked to, but because something in your words lingers unresolved. You're not offering answers, you're offering a pause, pregnant with possibility. A space just wide enough for his attention to wander in and wonder why it's still thinking of you. Because desire doesn't bloom when everything is said. It grows in the silence between the lines. And sometimes, the most unforgettable messages are the ones that end before he's ready for them to. But if that felt subtle to you, wait until you see what happens when timing does the talking.
2. The timed text. Say less, wait longer. Years ago, when my wife and I were still just learning how to speak each other's emotional language, she sent me a message one afternoon. It was simple. "Thinking of you. No need to reply." I read it, smiled, and went back to work. But it wasn't the message that got to me. It was what followed. Nothing. For hours. And in that silence, something strange happened. My mind, which had been so full of to-do lists and deadlines, started circling back to her. That little text became a thread I followed all day, not because she asked for attention, but because she left space for it to grow on its own. Timing isn't just about when you send a message, it's about when you don't, and what that silence allows him to feel in the space you leave behind. We often rush to close emotional gaps, but sometimes it's the openness that teaches someone to miss you, to value your presence, not because you demand it, but because your absence is felt. A well-timed message lets him meet his own emotions without interruption. It respects his inner rhythm and your own. I wonder, have you ever sent a message, then waited longer than felt comfortable? What happened next? Let me know in the comments. Sometimes your story becomes the mirror someone else needs. Texting, when done well, isn't reactive, it's rhythmic, and rhythm, like music, lives in both the notes and the pauses. But there's a different kind of message, one that doesn't wait or linger. It arrives like a light through the cracks, and it reminds him why he was drawn to you in the first place. Let's talk about that next. 3. The spark text. Rekindle what's already there. Sometimes a man doesn't drift because he's lost interest. He drifts because the connection has gone quiet, like embers beneath ash. And the right message, it doesn't beg for warmth. It stirs the coals. The spark text is a reminder of something shared, an inside joke, a memory, a moment only the two of you would understand. It's not grand, it's familiar, and in its familiarity, it reawakens that early feeling. She sees me still. This kind of message cuts through the noise of everyday life because it reconnects him not just to you, but to how he felt when you were close. It's emotional time travel. A simple line like, "Remember that song in the diner?" can transport him to a version of himself he liked better, with you beside him. And that's the quiet truth most overlook. Desire doesn't always need to be rekindled through novelty. It lives, often quietly, in the echoes of what's already been shared. A glance remembered, a phrase once whispered, a place only the two of you know. Sometimes it's not about inventing something new. It's about gently returning him to a moment where connection once lived without effort or fear. Because when memory is wrapped in warmth, it becomes an invitation to return, not just to you, but to the part of him that once felt safe in your presence. When you send a message like this, you're not pushing him to act, you're inviting him to feel. And men, especially those who don't always have the words, respond deeply to what feels safe to remember. We often think we need new things to reignite old connections, but often it's the oldest things, the shared laughter, the quiet glance, the unfinished story, that hold the most power. Now, what happens when a message doesn't just spark memory, but opens up possibility? Let's go there next. 4. The permission text. Let him want you, not just receive you. Have you ever wondered why a man can be attentive one moment, then distant the next? Why he'll lean in when you pull back, yet vanish when you open up? The answer isn't in what you're doing wrong, it's in what he hasn't been given permission to feel. Most women are taught to express, to explain, to hold space, but few are ever shown the power of restraint paired with invitation. The emotional alchemy that happens when you say, "I'm here," but only if you choose to be, too. The permission text doesn't chase validation, it grants autonomy. And in that space, a man doesn't feel pressured, he feels free to want. As Esther Perel writes, love rests on two pillars: surrender and autonomy. This kind of message honors both. It says, I'm not here to fill your silence. I'm here when you decide to break it. A woman who respects herself enough not to over-explain and respects him enough to decide for himself becomes magnetic. Because in a world of over-communication, clarity stands out, and quiet confidence is louder than noise. This kind of message might look like, I've been thinking about you. I'll leave it there. Nothing more, no follow-up, no urgency. Just a gentle offering, then stillness. And in that stillness, something rare is born. Permission. Permission for him to feel his own pull, rather than respond to yours. When we stop trying to manage someone else's reaction, we give them space to meet us by choice, not obligation. But there's one final kind of message. The kind that doesn't just linger in the heart, it reshapes how you see you entirely. Let's step into that.
5. The identity text. Speak to who he wants to be. What if the reason he pulls away isn't because he's lost interest in you, but because he's lost sight of himself? We often forget that men, just like women, carry unspoken doubts. And in moments of emotional distance, they aren't always avoiding you. Sometimes they're avoiding the version of themselves they feel they've failed to become. That's where the identity text becomes powerful. This isn't a compliment, nor is it a plea. It's a quiet reminder of the man he wants to be, delivered through the lens of how you see him at his best. Something as simple as, I always admired how grounded you were in chaos, or you made that moment feel safe without trying. These messages don't just praise, they reflect. And in doing so, they gently call him forward, reminding him that who he was with you is still reachable. In Western psychology, Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That journey, to become, not perform, is deeply personal for every man. And yet, it often takes a mirror held up by someone else to recognize the parts of himself he's abandoned or forgotten. When a woman sees and gently names that potential, not to reshape him, but to remind him, it plants a seed of return. She is not molding him. She is simply offering the reflection of a man she once aspired to be, and perhaps still hopes he can become. That's not manipulation. That's presence. And presence, when paired with emotional clarity, becomes magnetic. Not because it flatters, but because it resonates. Because men don't fall for the text that flatters their ego. They fall for the one that quietly touches their identity. And in a world of noise, the message that helps a man remember who he wants to be, that's the one he'll read more than once.
If you've come this far, you already understand none of this is really about texting. It's about something far more intimate: presence, permission,
memory, timing, and identity. A text is only the medium. The message is you. In a culture that rewards speed, surface, and sound bites, choosing to connect with clarity and emotional depth is a quiet rebellion. And yet, it's precisely that kind of rebellion that draws someone in, not toward your words, but toward your essence. Each of these 5 messages is less about strategy and more about self-awareness. Because when you know your value, you don't need to prove it. You only need to express it with simplicity, integrity, and heart. As Soren Kierkegaard once said, the most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. And the truth is, many connections fade not because they lacked potential, but because they lacked intention. So now make your messages reflect not what you want from him, but what you want with him. Let them carry your emotional intelligence, your restraint, your generosity, not to win him over, but to show that you are already whole. If something I said today gave you pause, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who might need your words. And if this kind of reflection speaks to you, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. Not for the tips, but for the truths. Because sometimes a single sentence, spoken at the right time, can change not just a conversation, but a connection. And I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.